I'm Jennifer Della Quadri, and this is Subtle Shifts, the podcast where you'll learn how to transform your life from the inside out, one small, meaningful shift at a time. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. I can't believe we are already officially in the holiday season. It's November and we've got Thanksgiving coming up. We've got December, which was just filled with all kinds of things. And so my intention is for the next few episodes to really give you some insights and tools that will help you navigate the holiday season. Welcome back to the podcast. I can't believe we're already in November. And as you know, this time of year can be really hectic. And so my intention is for the next couple of weeks to give you some really helpful tools and strategies to not only help you get through the holiday season gracefully, but also to kind of get a head start on some of the things you might be thinking of putting off until January. So stay tuned for some really great things. This week, I'm pumped up to talk with you about 75 hard. First, just a little background on what it is and my experience with it. 75 hard is one of those challenges it works for a lot of people. But if you've never heard of it before, it's basically like a mental toughness challenge where you have these daily tasks that you are expected to complete. You do 2 45-minute workouts, you have this strict diet that you're supposed to follow, you drink a gallon of water, you read 10 pages of some book that's self-help. There's no alcohol, there's no cheat meals. And if you miss one thing, then you start over. So basically it's 75 days of that. This whole program, the first time I was aware of it, I believe it was probably in 2017. And at the time, I was following a lot of fitness influencers, and a lot of them were talking about it and doing it. And I would see them implement it. Some of them would follow through. Most of them did not, for obvious reasons. The ones who did follow through would get incredible results. But then, I'm somebody who always wants to see, what's the long-term effect? Sure, after 75 days, you may be a lot stronger, you may be leaner, you may actually have better control of your time, but is that sustainable? And then I would notice that they would feel lost. It's like they didn't really know what to talk about after the 75 hard. And I also think, especially in the fitness industry, I want to be really clear, their goal is to influence you and to have you trust them and follow them and either sign up for their programs or, and this is all fine and good, but they've got that extra layer of motivation to stay true to the program that they started. So someone who is not a fitness influencer doing 75 hard, yes, it may be really good for some people, but I'm here to give you an alternative and to also talk a little bit about how it might not actually be a good idea for women in midlife specifically. And this is why. We already have so much on our plates. 75 hard, like I mentioned, it's a mental toughness challenge. You already have a lot of mental toughness in your life. You might be a parent. You might have a full-time job. You might be caring for your parents. On top of that, you've got all your own hormonal shifts going on. You've got sleep disturbances. Maybe you have a relationship going on, a challenge, a romantic relationship. You've got friendships. There's enough hard stuff in your life. You don't need to prove your mental toughness. You're already doing that every day. So that is why I think it's so important to be able to approach it in a different way, because challenges that are so rigid and so challenging can end up doing a little bit more harm than good. And what I mean by that is, let's say you start the challenge and you're super motivated. You're I'm going to do this because I want XYZ goal to be reached, or I want to prove to myself that I can do it. It'll feel really good. And then you get into the thick of it after the initial, 5 days wears off, and you're ooh, this is actually really hard. I have real life coming up. I've got my own stuff that I already was doing that might be getting in the way of me following through with these things. You're missing sleep, you're missing experiences with friends, and then it's harder to stick with it. And then you feel like a failure because you're not following through with the thing that you did. I know that you're somebody who wants to set goals and follow through with them. And if you don't, then it feels bad. So that could be a side effect of it that's negative, not to mention the physical side effects. When you are doing something that's so rigid, it actually forces you to go against what your body might be telling you. So when you're not listening to your cues from your body that you need rest, or that you need to eat something that's alternative to what you had planned, or if you need to do something different than what the plan calls for, if you overlook all of that, you're not listening to your body's cues. This kind of goes back to the conversation that I had last week with Sabrina Mannion about intuitive eating and paying attention to what's right for you. And it's really just like turning your back on all of those intuitive hits or subtle clues that your body may be giving you. And that's not really the healthiest thing, especially for women in midlife, to be doing. Yes, it gives you structure. Yes, it's accountability and also a sense of control, but it's over the top. And it's not absolutely necessary. It really does encourage and promote all or nothing thinking, like it's this or nothing. It also encourages punishment over being present in your body. And it can really lead to further burnout, guilt, injury, all of those things, especially for women who are juggling a lot in their life already. So like I mentioned before, it might be okay for some people to do. It might actually be really helpful. But if you're a perfectionist, a high achiever, or if you're already somebody who expects a lot of yourself, you don't need another challenge that demands you to be doing more. You need something that's going to support you where you are. With all of the hormonal changes and the difficulty with sleeping and the importance of rest. And really the idea is to shift from that I need to prove myself to I would like to nurture myself. Doing things that really truly support your energy and your overall well-being. And so what I have come up with is an alternative to 75 hard, and that is 75 subtle. And I'm calling it the 75 subtle challenge because even though it's subtle, it can be challenging because you are still setting goals and you're still holding yourself accountable to them. It's just not as rigid. This idea came to me because it's, as you know, this podcast is called Subtle Shifts. You know this is how I live my life, and I've been living my life like this for a really long time. I just didn't necessarily have it be a program. It was just, this is how I do things because doing all or nothing is stressful to me. So I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to make these little shifts along the way, and that is more sustainable. And when I talk about how these little shifts transform your life, I mean, my whole life is a reflection of it. And I'm sure you could probably find people all over in every industry in any way who can represent the idea that you don't have to change a bunch or do a bunch of really hard stuff to transform your life. All you have to do is pick small things and implement them with consistency, and then over time, the transformation happens. So the idea of 75 subtle, the challenge is that for 75 days, you focus on one small shift each week that's going to move you closer to the life you want. So in any area of your life, this can be implemented. So for example, let's say you want to lose weight. One small shift you can start with is to track your food intake for that week. You're just going to track. You're not changing anything. You're just looking to see what you are eating to get like a baseline. That is one small, subtle shift. And then the following week, maybe you'll have a calorie goal that you're wanting to reach. Same thing for losing weight. Another thing you could do is to be a little bit more aware of what you eat. Some people don't like tracking. You can implement the 3-meal 2-snack thing, having each meal be just a plate of food, like a dinner plate size of food, where you're making sure half of it is veggies and some type of protein, and then making sure you're getting carbs and fat. And then 2 snacks, right? Palm-sized snacks. That can be just paying attention. And then the next week, maybe you increase the amount of protein, or you see how you're feeling, and maybe you alternate the way you eat your snacks and what you have for snacks. If you want to get stronger, you start with your baseline. Like, let's say you're not lifting any weights at all. You start lifting weights 2 times a week. And maybe it's just 20 minutes, 1 upper body, 1 lower body. And then the following week, Either you add a day or you add 5 minutes. You're just making small shifts. And then in general well-being, let's say you want to feel calmer, you want to feel less hectic in your life. Your subtle shift for 1 week could be to spend 5 minutes doing a breathing exercise before grabbing your phone. And then maybe the following week, you do more time with it, or maybe you do it again before bed. These are all little doable things. And what's doable to me is not necessarily doable for you. That's where coming back to your intuition and really trusting what your body needs and what your lifestyle will allow for comes in handy. So I'm not going to give you your prescription. Your goal is to figure out what's doable, what moves the needle toward my goal, and what is sustainable for me. What do I have the capacity for? And you know, these shifts are not meant to be hard. It's just you're placing a little bit more awareness on that. So you pick your goal, you pick one shift, and then for 75 days each week, you make a little extra shift. So then eventually, like by the end of that 75 days, let's say you started by tracking your food intake, you don't have to track your food anymore because you're pretty aware of where you are. So it's not like you have to do it for the rest of your life. Also, if you started lifting weights 2 days a week when you weren't lifting weights at all, I guarantee you after 75 days, you're going to be stronger, even if you didn't even increase your weight. So those compounding shifts make a big impact over time. And the reason why this really works is it's sustainable. If you're just making one little shift at a time, it's not going to burn you out. And there's no guilt in it. You're just slowly increasing or shifting what it is to incorporate into your life. It's also really great because it helps you build self-trust. And what you're doing is you're proving to yourself the consistency. It's not just perfection. It's just, this is my intention. And I really like the 80-20 success rate measurement. It's a metric for when you're changing something in your life. Am I consistent 80% of the time at least? Then yes. If yes, then yes. That's success in my vision. It's consistency over perfection. It's also really adaptable, right? Like I said, you can use it for health, fitness, mindset, relationships, business, any area where you want some steady and aligned growth. And it's really especially powerful for women in midlife because it encourages you to tune in rather than just pushing through. We're done with pushing through. And it also honors your energy cycle and the demands of your life. I also love how it just reframes success around ease, balance, and overall well-being versus extremes. If you have too much extreme in your life, it's going to add extra stress, and you don't need extra stress in your life. And like I mentioned, having subtle shifts, I said that these little changes that I've made throughout my life had made a huge difference. And I've recently started doing the 75 Subtle Challenge myself because I don't just tell you what to do. I like to live it and experience and speak to it myself because I'm not here to tell you what to do without telling myself to do the same. So my first subtle shift was to do cardio after lifting. I've always prioritized cardio in my life, and I'm realizing that cardio actually really does drain me right now in my life, and I want to get stronger, and that's my goal. So to get stronger, I'm prioritizing lifting, and then I'm doing my cardio after. That was the only shift I made last week. And when I look back at like how I felt, my lifting was way more powerful. My cardio was still great. And so nothing negative, no net negative impact. It was actually very easy. And then this week, I have traveled this week and I don't want to overwhelm myself. So my main goal this week, my shift, is to drink 2 glasses of water before I have coffee in the morning. That's it. So it is a small shift that you implement over time. And throughout my life, I've noticed that the more I focus on making small shifts versus going all in, there was a time when I went all in. It was probably around when 75 Hard came out, and I was trying to really control things in my life through my nutrition and exercise. I got really intense with it. and almost burned myself out. I lost way too much weight. I thought I looked good, but I didn't feel so good. I was pretty exhausted. So the subtle shift I made was to not do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't have time and energy to burn myself out. I want to be present in my life for more things above and beyond. And this is sustainable, like I said. And here's the good news. If you are thinking, gosh, this sounds like something I would really like to do, I've created a free resource for you. And on that resource, it explains the 75 Subtle Challenge, and I give you a bunch of examples of things that you could shift in your life. So to take out the guesswork, just some ideas to implement, and then some strategies to help yourself stay accountable. It's totally free. You can download it by clicking the link in the description below and get started on your 75 Subtle Challenge. I'm also sharing a lot of tips and sharing my own experience with the 75 Subtle Challenge on Instagram, specifically Instagram stories. So go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram if you would like to just follow along and join me there. And just remember, my final thought that I would really love to share with you is that you don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight. You just have to start. Make one subtle shift at a time. And as always, I'm cheering you on, supporting you from here. And I so appreciate you tuning in this week. And I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me. If you're ready to take the next step in transforming your life, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And if something resonated with you today, I'd love to hear about it. Share your thoughts, tag me on social media, or leave a review to help others find the podcast. Remember, the smallest shifts can create the biggest transformations. I look forward to hearing from you.